I think that if Kim Jong-un would have said, "You no longer in North Korea," is that kind of the accent that they use? I don't know what kind of accent they use over there.
I've never heard that dude talk.
I guess I haven't really either. Remember that time Trump met him? He had to have spoken then, right? He didn't just write notes.
Maybe he kind of spoke like the Bane in the Batman movies, like, "Oh, greetings, President Trump."
Bane doesn't talk like that, does he?
Does he talk like that?
I don't think he did. Welcome back. It's a brand new episode. This is Laugh With Me with your host, J.O. Man, it's good to be back.
You seemed a little surprised by, Johnny and I making that commotion.
A lot of noise back
cheering
there. In case you're wondering who that is, and you know who that is. Don't fuck with me. You know who that is. We've got a guest this week. He is a Guest of the Year nominee for the Laugh With Me podcast. He's the 5th speaker at Central back in 2001, and he is a giant in the transportation industry. We're bringing him on tonight because he's a football expert. This is my good friend, Eric Larson.
I appreciate the nomination there. Like, I feel like it's preemptive because I'm pretty sure this is the first time on the show.
This is not your first time this year.
Seriously?
This is your second time this season. Right?
Johnny, can you confirm this?
Hold on. Were you the first episode of season 3? Or were you the first episode of season 2?
I think it was season 2.
Season 2. So this is your first episode, season 3, first episode in 2025 for sure. I mean, I can vouch for that. I mean, we are brand new into the year. I hadn't even seen it this year. So happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
I'm a little apprehensive now because you tell me that this is season 3.
Yeah.
Like, we know what happened to Lost in season 3.
Oh.
I mean, it got a little long. The bit got a little old. Like, what are you doing to refresh, rejuvenate?
I'm gonna have to announce the end of the series and work towards it. Isn't that how Lost got their mojo back?
I feel like there's a writer's strike in there as well.
Oh, that's true.
So, I don't know how that works in the podcast. Is that just you stop writing the jokes down and?
Yeah, that's funny. That is right. There was a writer's strike.
Is there a Laugh With Me union?
There is. Well, hey, no, we don't. You're not supposed to bring that up around Johnny. Can you imagine if he wanted to unionize? Can you imagine? Oh no, we can't have it.
I mean, that would be the equivalent of Seinfeld when Kramer goes on strike.
When Kramer goes on strike for like 20 years.
Yeah, I mean, that might have been where Johnny was last year. I mean, I could have swore he went away for a little while.
He did go away for a while, and you know what? Hand up, that one's on me. I thought, here's an opportunity to try somebody different. JoJo Damsey, good friend of mine. I thought, you know what? Let's bring him in the mix, see what's up, and then you know what? Some dogs can't play. Some dogs can't play. Sometimes you take them out and you throw the ball and they don't know what to do with it. So that's kind of what happened. And then you bring Johnny back, and things just start to flow again. Suddenly we're back in the top 200 in the iTunes comedy charts, and things are feeling good again. So
I mean, I've known you guys north of 25 years, and I think this is the first time I've ever seen Johnny cry. It's probably the nicest thing you've ever said to him.
You know what? That's probably true.
I mean, because by saying that, Jojo Ramsey or Bobo Ramsey or Bobo, can't hunt. I mean, you're kind of implying that. I mean,
hey,
our good friend Johnny could hunt.
You know what? He does hunt, and I also want to say this about Jojo because I do consider him a dear friend of mine. Dear friend of the show, dear friend of mine personally.
Yeah.
Okay. I switched companies. I'm working for a new company now in the day job, and I spent 5 weeks not far from a place that I know he lives. Do you think I saw him once? No, I didn't. So, Jojo, if you're listening, and I don't know if he listens, I really don't.
Yeah.
If he you're shaking your head no. I'm assuming he does not.
I don't think he gets Wi-Fi in living out of the folks' basement.
Oh, okay.
So
all right. Well, if he ever eats at a McDonald's and catches Wi-Fi and pops on the latest episodes, here's the deal, buddy. You didn't stop by and get a donut,
pal.
You didn't stop by. You didn't stop by.
Yeah.
You know what? And I didn't tell him I was there.
I've never
either.
seen you cry until this moment. I can tell that how much this means to you.
Mm-hmm. It means a lot to me, actually. It means a hell of a lot to me. And we're sitting here in the shadow of the trophy of the Laugh With Me podcast 2024 Guest of the Year trophy, the bronze microphone that you had in your, it was right there in your hands. For you were nominated. This was your year, and it wasn't to be. But congratulations to Lavetti Vegas.
You know, it's a very realistic trophy.
Yeah,
top notch trophy design. It's in the shape of a microphone. I actually started speaking into it as soon as I saw it,
and I was like, that mic doesn't work.
That was the expectation that I had was, and then I tried biting it because I thought that maybe the trophy was also cake.
Yep.
And it's solid. It's solid. I think I chipped a tooth.
Next year, actually, Johnny, check on the insurance. Make sure we're good here. Eric's biting shit. I don't know what's going to happen. No, you know what? The trophy's great. I'm excited for Lavetti. He had a great 2024 on the pod. And you know what? Maybe next year we'll make it into like some kind of cupcake or something. And then, you know, when you win, you bite down. Did
you see the Travis Kelce eating the football?
No, was it a cake?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I would assume it was a cake.
I mean, part of me.
Was it on his show or what was it?
It was on the Netflix, the Netflix Christmas games.
Oh, I watched the game, but I didn't. Was it after the game?
Yeah, after the game, it was like the players of the game. They got these. They got the overcoat that goes over the pads, like the big one that looks like Santa, and then they also got handed footballs. But the footballs were actually cake. So Kelce like breaks his open, breaks it in half, and then just starts chowing down on the inside, and Mahomes, is just like, oh, that's cool, and doesn't do anything.
Well, right,
he's on a diet.
He doesn't know what he's doing.
Permanent diet, but I mean, Kelce was all into it. I mean, dude's about to retire.
I didn't see it. He is going to retire. I didn't see it because I watched the football. I do enjoy the football, and I could care less about the Kansas City Chiefs.
You don't want to
outside of the football as just people.
Yeah,
because I hate the Chiefs. So I hate watching football because as a Chargers fan, it just drives me nuts. But then I don't want to see them outside of the football. So I must have turned the channel or something.
And how I know that you are blinded by the hatred here is that, we have a long-standing conversation going on about how much I hate football being on other
networks. Yeah.
And the fact that you have not called me out for the fact of, wait a second, Eric, did you support the Netflix? Mm-hmm. Did you support the Netflix?
Yeah. We're actually today's episode. We were actually going to talk about playoff football.
Oh, I thought you were going to say we're sponsored by Netflix.
We were actually, yep. So the Netflix just had a major thing Monday night. That very first ever WWE Monday Night Raw live on Netflix worldwide. Spent a lot of money on it, right? They went big, and then they said, "We're not done yet." 3 days later, they're like, "We're not only live with WWE Monday Night Raw, but we've got Laugh With Me podcast, and we are going live." When he's done recording and editing, and then gets it all put together, and then we'll put it out as audio. They may even. I think that's how they're reintroducing the cassette. They used to do the DVDs. They're now doing cassettes, and they're going to send out cassettes, and then like my show's going to be on the cassette, and then you can like subscribe to it. It's actually pretty cool.
I mean, I don't have a cassette player.
Yeah, nobody does.
So I probably won't get around to listen to it because of the cassette thing.
Yeah.
But, most of the people out there probably are aware of this just because of the cheer that went up. Netflix, I mean, Hulk Hogan got booed.
He did.
Laugh With Me got cheered.
We got cheered. I mean, yep, we got cheered. Yeah, that's the thing. I think we're trending up.
You're above Hulk Hogan.
I think we're above Hulk Hogan, which is, Lil J.O. back in the early 90s would have thought that was pretty freaking cool. Actually, me yesterday probably would have thought that was pretty cool.
The dude only had one shirt. Jeremy only had one shirt through all of high school. But it had the strongest neck. Like, that neck was unterrible. And because all the other shirts that you had, you'd tear them open.
Yeah, I'd have to rip them off.
I mean, because that was just like, you'd come into first period in the morning and you just rip your shirt off. And you kind of got known for it.
When you're a true American, you rip your shirt off when you introduce yourself to a room. So that's That's just kind of how I know my America. I don't know about you. Before we get into...
No, I think you were really pale, too. Like
right now or before?
Well, I think always.
Okay. I was like, if you really want to go into why I'm pale right now, I'm bleeding constantly. I don't know if you know this or, if the audience cares about that, about my medical condition right now, but you know what? I'm on the brink. I'm on the brink. So today's episode, I got my football expert here, and I'll get into why he's an expert, but we got my football expert. We're gonna go through the NFL playoffs. The NFL playoffs start this week, and that's exciting. We're gonna kind of re-rank the top 7, all the playoff teams for the AFC and NFC. Eric did the NFC. I'm gonna do the AFC, and then you know what? Chaos ensues from there. But before we get to that, there was like a couple of things that, one thing really. I thought it was interesting, and I was just kind of wondering what your opinion was on it. It has nothing to do with football, but has everything to do with American, because you've heard of Kim Jong-un.
Yeah, I'm aware. I'm aware of his work.
Yeah. Well, so he just banned hot dogs from North Korea, right? And it's likely because it's hot dogs is American culture, and he hates all things American culture, right? And I thought that was interesting because we have so many other things that need canceled or put away for good.
Wait, are you saying that hot dogs deserve to be canceled?
No, hot dogs should not. Why not have the hot dog? A hot dog's a good item. Why do that when you could do these other things?
You think?
So I had a couple of things, and I was curious what you thought, because there's other things that are considered American culture that could get rid of, and he would be able to do his little thing that he's doing, and we would be like, "Oh, you did it!" So then both sides would be this hot dog thing. I mean, everybody.
You've looked into it a lot more than I have.
I have.
Because I saw it and I was just like, well, it's North Korea. State owns everything. Mm-hmm. They must be having a brat sale. Mm. North Korea Mart, the store that they all go to.
Yep, 10 for 10 or something.
Yeah, they've got a 10 for 10 brat deal. And you know what? It's hot dogs are illegal until we get through our back surplus. I mean, they're on the other side of the globe of us. I mean, obviously it's summer over there right now, right? Is that true?
Is that a thing?
No. That's the exact opposite.
You wanted me in
Australia.
Said I questioned it.
Australia is having summer right now, not North Korea. But no, I mean, maybe they just got to get through all that back stock. They're like these sausages, these brats, they got to go on the grill this weekend, or they're going to be ruined.
You've traveled to Europe a few times, but you've never been to Australia, right?
No. Australia is a totally different place than Europe.
I understand that, but you never been. Is that something where you want to go someday, or is it too scary?
Too scary?
I'm scared as shit of that thing.
Of Australia?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. If the giant-ass spiders don't kill you, if the bugs that have 50 eyes and 30 legs and muscles don't kill you, then the kangaroos that are ripped with 24-inch pythons like a prime Hulk Hogan don't kill you. Well, then the muscular guys will. I mean, there's
guys.
Yeah, those guys are built. I don't know why Australian dudes are more built than we are, but they are. They'd kill you and I.
No.
Oh, yeah, we wouldn't stand a chance in a fight with an Australian dude.
No, you just got to bring that knife.
No,
Crocodile Dundee taught us that. Nope.
You can't possibly have a knife and fight a 2025 Australian guy. That would have worked in the 90s. That doesn't work today. I'm telling you, I'm scared to go there. That's all I'm saying.
I've got some friends of mine that went to not Australia but New Zealand,
and you haven't heard from them since.
They made it back okay because they had this great story about how they had rented a van.
Yeah,
and basically it was kind of one of those conversion vans, no windows on the back, but it had room in there for them to basically sleep in it. So they camped out in it.
Oh, cool.
But the wall of it, they did not know before they picked it up, but had a naked lady on the side of their van.
Oh.
It's just it's one of those yeah, I mean, what are you gonna do? You're in New Zealand,
right?
is this our last van? Do you ask for a different van? Like, or do all the vans? I like to think that all the vans.
I like to think that all the vans
have that on there.
It's kind of like the U-Haul vans that just have like smiling, waving kids, and mom and dad on there. Like
this is a New Zealand version.
This is New Zealand's version, which is a naked lady. Yeah. And all the people who work at the rental van place, they all have like those sailor tattoos that has like the naked lady with giant boobs. Yeah. It's kind of like it's an initiation when you work there. You get the tattoo. It's when
somebody complains about it, they're like, "Oh, Americans, eh?" I don't know. That was more of a Canadian accent.
That really was Canadian.
I don't know how to do the Kiwi accent.
We're all over the globe here, and so
trending all over the globe.
We are trending all over the globe. So North Korea, they banned the hot dogs. You took me off task. They banned the hot dog. I'm gonna give you a couple things of an American culture that I think would have been more appropriate to cancel. That would have been like, we would have been like, oh no, and then we would have been okay, but it would have been enough for Kim Jong-un to be like, I did it, and he would really like stuck it to us.
The equivalent of like when we banned French fries and they were freedom fries.
Exactly.
Like, France, we know where to hurt you.
Yep. I think that if Kim Jong-un would have said, you no longer in North Korea. Is that kind of the accent that they use? I don't know what kind of accent they use over there.
I've never heard that dude talk.
I guess I haven't really either. Remember that time Trump met him? He had to have spoken then, right? He didn't just write notes.
Maybe he kind of spoke like the Bane in the Batman movies, like, "Oh, greetings, President Trump."
Bane didn't talk like that, does he?
Does he talk like that?
I don't think he did.
He's kind of got that high-pitched voice.
No, I remember not being able to understand what Bane was saying in that movie.
Yeah, because he kind of had the accent, too.
Yeah. Well, I don't think so.
Go ahead and cut this part out.
Johnny, cut this part out. We'll just restart right here. So, one of the things that Kim Jong-un could cut and just be like, here's no longer in North Korea, and this is my Kim Jong-un, no longer allowed in North Korea when you are upset about something with somebody, you cannot say that they can't do that. That's a HIPAA violation. Because in America, we like to blame people that they can't do that because that's a HIPAA violation, no matter what it is. That's just a simple fact that you don't know what HIPAA violation exactly is. But it's kind of a part of American culture now to blame everything that it's a HIPAA violation.
I'm still kind of caught up on that accent.
Yeah, the accent was good. The accent was good.
Kind of was like almost like a Babu Bot.
Kinda.
But not nearly enunciating it all
the way. I'm not going
scale.
all the way, but I'm kind of there.
Do you hear a lot of people talking about HIPAA?
Oh, constantly. Do you not like hear people being like, you can't do that? Like when you're you're like, oh, you gotta like athletes, Joe Burrow's got that wrist injury, that he's recovering from all season, right? And he's, people are like, oh yeah, he's got that wrist injury. You can't say that. It's a HIPAA violation. You can't talk about that.
That's just Kyle.
Oh, that was just Kyle.
I think that's just your brother.
I'll have to ask him about that. The second thing, and I think this is probably the most important thing, and this is something that might actually shock American culture if Kim Jong-un was to no more. And was like, what? This is the thing? This is the line? Hot dogs, one thing. We're going to keep eating our hot dogs. This would have been probably over the line. If Kim Jong-un would be like, no more in North Korea, will you be able to listen to the Haktua podcast or talk about the Haktua?
Are they still making those? I thought she had gone underground.
She did.
I thought she was done.
Yeah, that's why I'm...
Is this a 2024 show or a 2025 show? I'm so confused. Johnny, can we check the date?
Johnny wrote these jokes. Hey, Johnny, come on, dude. You gotta... Come on. We're here to talk football. And then, it was him. I don't even know what to tell you.
What do you suppose, like, the newscast would have to be over there? Like, just everybody in North Korea was just like, oh, yeah, HIPAA violations, America. Haktua. Like, could you imagine how disjointed that would be?
Here's why I think
here's American ambassador, Haktua, explaining, the incoming Trump administration.
As I'm talking about in delivering these god-awful jokes. I think this is a good time to remind folks or let people know that you can see me at the Omaha Funny Bone on April 17th.
Whoa!
Yeah. Thank you. Yes, come to get tickets to the Clash of the Comics, Omaha, April 17th, 2025 at the Omaha Funny Bone. I promise not to mention Kim Jong-un, Hak Tua, or HIPAA. Guaranteed. I will not.
You might just want to strike off the other topics that we've hit on today. Like, let's leave Australia off of there.
Yeah.
Let's leave brats off of there.
That's not a bad idea. I haven't even begun to get into brat material. You think?
I mean, that could be. I mean,
do you think that's? Yeah, it could be pretty good. I think. I don't know. It's just something to think
America
about.
ready for it?
Is America ready?
I mean,
absolutely not.
It was brat summer last summer.
It was brat.
It could be brat spring.
Yep, we could reuse all the old brat shit. Like we can just.
Is that the audience that you're going to be talking to at the Funny Bone?
At the Funny Bone, yep.
There'll just be a sign up front that you got to put up there and just be like, FYI, 2024 brat summer.
Well, you saw, I don't know how dialed in you are to like the grocery industry, but like Kroger and Albertsons were trying to merge, and Kroger was going to buy Albertsons, and then
Albertsons is still in business.
Yeah, good. That's the point.
Okay.
And it was like 3 years of litigation of the government suing them, saying you can't do that. It ended up they can't. It was shot down, right? They can't. It'd be too big, and Albertsons is like pissed. They needed it. They needed Kroger to buy them. They needed the money, right? Just to stay afloat. And I think Albertsons would be the exact type of company that would buy and receive all the old brat promotional materials and try to repurpose it into brat summer just to save a dime.
That would fit too, because I mean, like Kroger likes to do the little animated things with the songs, and yes, they're obviously spending some money.
They are spending some
marketing department, so yes, it would make sense that Albertsons is throwing the leftovers at you.
That's funny.
Sorry to the listening audience there that might love Albertsons.
Nobody does. That's silence. That silence is what makes it. Guaranteed nobody was saying, yeah, I do. Yeah, Jeremy. I'm like, no, you don't. Let's.
This is going to be a trending topic. I feel like
tomorrow
be good. It's going to be Albertsons Nation versus the Laugh With Me pod.
First, the Laugh With Me podcast. All right, we're again. I told you we're going to talk playoff football. We're going to rank our teams. But before we do that, let's see if we can get. This guy on the line. I don't know if we'll get him. I kind of gave him a heads up we were calling.
Yo.
Kyle.
What's happening?
Dude, Are you at work?
No. Are you at work?
No, I'm not at work. You're live on Laugh With Me right now. It's me. It's Eric Larson.
Oh, no, not again.
Yep. I swear I heard you typing. What do you got going on there?
No, I'm not typing. I'm messing with my drums.
Oh, you play drums?
Yeah.
That was why I called you. I was hoping you could play us a song.
No, probably not. What are you guys doing?
You had one job.
What are you guys doing?
Also, I will say that, like, remember when we were younger?
Yeah.
Many years ago. But
vaguely, I remember.
When you would call somebody and you'd have like a song for your ringtone.
Yep.
Like, we'd be so disappointed in Kyle's. Like, he's got nothing.
It was just rings.
No individuality.
Yep.
Well, here's the deal.
There's nothing on there. There's nothing on there making me want to stay on the line to talk to Kyle.
I don't want you to call me.
He doesn't even want to be on the line right now. So.
I don't want you to call me. I don't want my phone to make any noise. I wish I didn't have a phone. That's where we're at.
You could get rid of your phone.
I wish.
Well, you got kids. You can't be getting rid of your phone. Yeah.
See, exactly.
Calling you all the time. I promise you, I called you today just right now, and the last time before this I called you was when I called you when I was recording the Bottom 5 podcast. That was the last time I called you.
Well, I know. That's why I almost didn't answer this time. I was like, nah, there's no way he did it again. And then he did it again. I don't know what to say.
And I did it again. This is what I do. I'm just constantly calling people. Hey, so Eric and I were here. I just delivered 2 awful jokes.
Yep.
About American culture and North Korea and Kim Jong-un. I'm not even going to spoil it what it was, but it was bad.
And then, the reason we had to get you involved here is we're doing our rankings of, the best looking quarterbacks by division and conference. And Jeremy put Joe Burrow beneath 3 of the Cleveland Browns quarterbacks. And we wanted to get your opinion on it.
Joe Burrow is number 1 in the NFL? I don't know what to tell you, guys.
Even with his hair? His Billy Idol hair?
It's good hair. It's good hair.
What color is your hair right now?
What color? He doesn't color his hair. What color is your hair?
What are you talking about, guy?
What color is your hair right now?
Yeah, we need to know.
Normal hair color?
Are you
what
blonde?
Kind of question is that?
We need to know.
It's like I don't know. I ain't looking at my hair. What is it like?
Even
it's
Bengals
like
fans are not impressed by Joe Burrow's hair.
I told my kids that when Jameis Winston was benched, because I'm a believer in Mr. Winston, and when he got benched by the Browns, that was my 9/11. That was just that was that tragic to me. I'll never forget. # never forget.
I don't think that works.
No, it works. Oh, it works.
No, here's the deal.
We already have the 9/11.
Jameis Winston always gets banned, though. That's fair. That's actually a good point.
Kyle, I really called. We're going to be ranking our the playoff teams. Eric and I are, but I wanted to call you because I thought of you today. I saw on the cover. I like the USA Today, and the front page had President Joe Biden on it, and the headline was that he said that had he actually run for re-election, he would have won. And I thought of you because I was like, that's probably how the Bengals feel. They feel like, oh, if we would have gotten in the playoffs, we're winning this whole freaking thing.
I thought you were going to say that if they actually would have played to be in the playoffs, but
they would have. Yeah.
All right. You guys got to calm down. Here's the deal with the Bengals. I mean, they just sucked. They just sucked. Yeah. And they knew even getting in the playoffs, they weren't beating anybody. Unless they played the Bills, they would have beat the Bills. But then whoever they played in round 2, they wouldn't have beat. God, doesn't it just suck? We got to watch crappy Harbaugh Chargers and
what's wrong with that?
Freaking Darnold Vikings and just some trash teams in the playoffs. And you're going to sit here and be like, we're going to rank playoff teams. I think the playoff teams are literally ranked. You just look, it's like they're seeded. There's 1, there's 2. I don't know how else to help you on that one.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I'm not disagreeing with what he just said, really any of it.
I mean, really taking the wind out of the sails.
He really did. Do we have anything left to talk about now?
Yeah, it might just be time to go to dinner.
Do you think I was going to defend the Bengals? They had a terrible year.
No, I didn't think you would defend them. I was expecting a little chuckle. I do think that the Bengals...
Say something funny, Kyle. For crying out loud.
No,
help us.
I don't host a comedy podcast. That's not my job.
That's true.
Frick
Johnny,
kids.
you son of a bitch. Get more.
You guys.
Johnny, you know what?
This is why Kyle's podcast failed. The Don't Laugh With Me
The Don't
podcast.
Laugh With Me. I remember that. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to learn from this. And I that's when I started Laugh With Me.
Don't laugh with me and leave me alone. That was my podcast. No one listens. They should not leave me alone.
So the shadow ban has been lifted. This is the official no more shadow ban.
What? I'm back?
You're back.
Also, it's season 3 now.
Oh, I missed an entire season.
You missed an entire season. You didn't even get nominated for Guest of the Year because you weren't even on the show all last year. But the
shadow ban.
But the shadow ban has been lifted. You are welcome to be on the show as soon as any time.
All right. Hey, what if if I'm on the show, I'm aware that I'm on the show and I'm not just called randomly while I'm just drumming? And what's the voting procedure here? Because I would like to place my vote for Grant Pearson for Guest of the Year That guy killed it.
He
Did you
did.
announce the guest of the year?
Yeah, I did. And
my God.
And we're actually looking at the trophy with the name already, and I would have to do a whole thing where I put tape over it and put a whole different name on. But it's
if it's not Grant Pearson, this whole thing is a sham, and I don't understand who's in charge.
I'm not even going to tell you who it is because I don't want to ruin the moment. But it's going to be big, and Grant did kill it, and he's going to kill it again when he comes back.
Oh, he's not shadow banned. That's good to hear.
Oh, no, right. I can't even remotely consider Shadow Penny Gray. He brings good content.
He's guest of the year.
Guest of the year.
Funny. He's funny.
Why is Johnny shaking his head? Like, every time Kyle mentions not being shadow banned, he shakes his head.
I know.
Every time you say Grant's going to be back on the show, Johnny shakes his head.
Yep. That's just, that's kind of his personality, honestly. Anytime I ask him something, just shakes his head. Well, thanks for being on the show, Kyle.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right. Hey, if you're going to drum, at least drum to your own beat, dude.
That was so bad.
I just thought of that in the moment. I don't know.
You guys have fun.
All right. See you, dude.
See ya.
Oh, man. Whose idea was it to call him?
Yeah.
That didn't work out.
He didn't seem very happy.
No, I thought the Bengals thing, I'd get more from him. That's okay. You know what? You win some, you lose some. Sometimes you win some. It's the...
One would hope that, one of the teams we're going to talk about will win something.
Well, you know what? It's part of the deal that one of these teams is going to win the Super Bowl for the 24-25 season. What do you want to do, NFC or AFC first?
Well, I was thinking maybe we'd start at our 7th ranked teams and just alternate.
Oh, and just alternate? Yeah, we can do that. Okay.
And
all right.
end with our number 1 teams for each division.
Yep. All right. I'm down. Okay. So let's start. We're going to start with you. We'll start with the 7th seed in the NFC. So for anybody who's not aware of what it is that we're talking about, we're talking about the NFL, the National Football League, the most popular sport in all of the United States. Now,
after women's college volleyball.
After women's college volleyball and after Caitlin Clark games. Like
yes.
That's kind of how it goes. It goes women's volleyball and it goes Caitlin Clark games and then it goes
really, if you want to get specific,
games.
You'd put Taylor Swift attended NFL games just like
because that's like its own. That's like a separate subcategory, but it's
because know she's going to notice the camera. You know that she's going to wave, she's going to smile, or just, sometimes just make eye contact with the camera that's looking at her.
She loves the camera.
Yeah.
She's never not liked a camera, which is actually different than a lot of celebrities who are like, get that camera out of my face. Every time I put it in their face, they're like, get that out of my face. Yeah. I'm like, I'm here. It's it's part of the deal.
That's why you've never been seen in any of the paparazzi magazines.
That's right. But someday I'll be on the other side of it. So we'll go through. We're talking about the teams. This is the deal. Kyle brought up a good point. The NFL's already ranked these teams. Like they've already seeded them, right? But they seed them in a very particular way. They rank them by division winners first. So it's 1 through 4 on each side based on winning the division, and then everybody else after that. That's where it gets interesting because you can have a team in a bad division that wins a division who's top 4, and then you could have a team at the 5 seed who has a better record than all of the teams that are above them. I think we will talk about that type situation in the NFC. That's a
cool story.
So that's what's interesting about how the NFL ranks their teams. And if you're a casual fan, you are going to watch the first round of the playoffs this weekend and go, why is this team playing a road game on Monday night? That's going to be one of the things we're going to look at. And it's like, yeah, you're right. That's weird. That's why we're kind of re-ranking it just for fun and talk about it. And, and then the things will ensue from there. But I call Eric a football expert, and I mean that because he is the NFL demographic. He is the football fan that grew up watching football with, a hardcore fan of one team. He attends games, multiple games every season. Right. He'll watch games every single weekend and through the week too. I mean, Thursday through Monday, right? Spends money on all those things. Spends money on merchandise. Spends money betting occasionally. Spends money on fantasy football. Plays fantasy football diehard. Like, he is a football fan through and through.
Just
that makes him an expert.
Don't go listen to our season preview.
We were wrong on a lot of things.
The results.
That was funny. If you listen to another show that we have on the on our network, I guess, a lot with the Bottom 5 podcast. I own up to a lot of that in the early weeks. It's like, okay, I thought the Bears were going to be good this year. Hand up, I was wrong. And I was wrong in a bad way. So there is, we had some things right, but it is fun to go back and listen to like that episode and just kind of look at, all right, what were we thinking before the season started? And yeah. You should listen to the archives. So we're going to go through it, and if you're not a football fan, I encourage you to continue to listen because the banter alone is going to be worth the price of admission, which is free. So number 7 in the NFC, so 7 teams. The first seed obviously got a bye. So we're going to, as we're ranking this, which team did we think deserve the bye?
This is going to be the worst team. The worst team,
yep,
I think, that's in the playoffs.
Right. So what do you think, NFC?
I'm going to put the Packers. I'm going to put the Packers at that worst spot.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they're a little bit overrated this year coming into the playoffs, just considering they got 6 losses. 5 of them came to 2 against Detroit, 2 against Minnesota, 1 against Philly. They also lost to the Bears, who we've also acknowledged are pretty crappy.
And that was our first loss to them in quite some time.
Yes, yeah. And I think even more damaging than the loss to the Bears, they lost Watson in that game. So they lost the closest thing that they have to a number 1 wide receiver. I love the fact that they're playing Philly in week 1.
Yeah.
So, hey, maybe they shocked the world and, managed to beat Philly. I think Philly's gettable for reasons we'll cover later.
Yep.
But, either way, one of the green teams is going to be gone.
Yeah, and that's good to get them out of the way. Like I'm gonna really cover the AFC, but I would agree with you. I had the Green Bay Packers at 7 as well, and they have some injuries creeping up on them right now, and they just never played like a team that was in a dominant state. It just seemed like they competed. And when I say they competed, meaning they struggled at times against some really bad teams this year, like the Bears you're just talking about. And there
are some teams that become like the Sunday Night Football or the Monday Night Football like darlings.
Yep.
Like Collinsworth watches them for like 2 years, and that's where the Packers have been the last 2 years. Is they've been like a very like, hey, they got so much young talent, they've got like exciting quarterback, they've got a great coach. But this year they did not have that. They were a little off. They're missing that piece on offense, and that the defense does not look as good as it has.
No, I could see the Packers
and
certainly
they suck.
losing. And they suck. I knew you were going to put the Packers at the bottom just strictly because you're a Vikings fan, but I also was like,
no, this is totally unbiased.
But I felt the same way. I'm just like, they are 100% the 7. Like,
so here's the other thing, and you'll hear this for the Detroit Lions when we talk about and the Vikings. The NFC North had the easiest strength of schedule this year. They played the AFC South, which was awful, and they played the NFC West, which had,
right.
There were teams that were good for a while, there were teams that were bad for a while, but still like kind of a blah situation.
Yep.
I think if the NFC North was playing the AFC North or the AFC West or, playing different divisions, I don't think you're going to see 3 teams from that division in the playoffs. Like they all Detroit, Minnesota, and Green Bay fed off of bad competition.
Yeah, it's just the schedule. Yep. It's just kind of how it worked out. Well, number 7 in the AFC, in my opinion, and I've been to some football games. I know I kind of built you up a little bit on your football resume. I've also been to a couple football games in my time, and I host the Bottom 5 podcast. If you haven't listened, I give you the 5 worst teams in the NFL every single week. It's the Bottom 5 podcast. This is a team that I had in that Bottom 5 for a while there at the beginning of the season, and they kind of ramped up. They got better week to week. Defense did okay. Quarterback, rookie, starting to figure some things out. It looked incredible last week, but against a Chiefs team that benched everybody. But I got the Denver Broncos in the 7 seed, and that's where they live in reality as well. In the actual playoff rankings, they're the 7. But Denver to me is a 7. They're a team that snuck in. This is a team that's playing really good at the right time. And they won some games against bad opponents enough to kind of build enough of a resume. I don't believe enough in the quarterback, Bo Nix. I think that
you probably believe in him a little bit more than like a Joe Burrow or a quarterback that didn't make the playoffs.
Right. If you make the playoffs, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
As far as I'm concerned, if you didn't make the playoffs, how could you possibly believe? If you're a teammate of theirs, how do you believe in them that they can lead you? Right. So. Yeah, definitely Bo Nix over Joe Burrow, but with that being said, on his very team, Bo Nix, none of his teammates attended his birthday party. So this is a guy who doesn't even have the love and appreciation of his own team.
Even Sean Payton didn't go?
He did not. So this is something that it concerns me. I put him at the 7. Again, they're a playoff team, so it's not that they're bad. I just think they're the worst of the bunch, and I definitely like the idea of them losing in round 1.
I really dislike Sean Payton.
I know you do.
So, but I mean, if you wanted to say like you wanted to be the contrarian, I mean, it's kind of the same thing as the Green Bay. It's like I think if you're another AFC team, you're like, hey, would love it if maybe they do catch that lightning in a bottle. Like both the teams that we've said so far, both of them could win that first matchup. Like
Denver could beat Buffalo.
Could beat Buffalo.
They could beat Buffalo.
They could shock the world.
They could.
Neither of these two teams that we've said so far could go the entire way.
No. But if they did beat Buffalo, I think that just plays to the advantage of another team in the middle there to be able to make that next step to a Super Bowl run and take on the Chiefs. But like. That's where, all right, the Broncos the defense got to play incredible. Their special teams is good. So it's like defense got to play incredible, and they have an okay defense. And then the special teams got to play incredible. And then Bo Nix, no mistakes. Right? I mean, that's just, if they can do that and the defense can shut down Josh Allen, maybe. But
maybe if a foot of snow is going to be on the ground.
So, yeah, that's my 7. I'll take the 6 now, AFC, and we'll go to you. So then the 6th seed in the AFC, in my opinion, the Houston Texans.
Okay.
Now, the reason I say the Houston Texans, they're really young. They're really good. Like, they're a team that plays really well together. Like, they're well coached.
Love DeMarco Ryans.
Man, they're just not a team that I've ever, and even this season at all. And this is a team that I thought going into the season, I said on our podcast that we did, that this was a team that was going to take a step back and they were going to have kind of that sophomore slump. And, CJ Stroud's not going to be who he was. He had a great year. The team itself is going to take a step back and someone else is going to win the division. That didn't happen. But they didn't look as dominant as they were a year ago when they really caught people by surprise. Instead, it seemed like they played very well in a really bad division. And they've made it this far, and now they got to take on the Chargers. And that's not me saying the Chargers are this elite, team, but I think now it's big boy football, and it's going to be good on good, and it's going to be, all right, what can you do? And I just don't think this team's prepared for it.
No, I mean, it goes back to what I was saying earlier about NFC North feasting off the AFC South. Like, I'm 90% sure that, I know that Detroit and Minnesota beat Houston, and I'm 98% sure that the Packers did too. So it's just like, all right, they went 0 for 3 on that. So, all right, their record's already depressed. Plus, they were the number 1 seed, so they have to play the other number 1 seeds, the Chiefs, the Bills, like this. So, like, they did have the deck stacked against them. But if you're a great team, you're going to win some of those games. And it seemed like they lost those games and had to count on those.
And they fed on everybody
Titans
else.
And Colts and Jacksonville games.
Right. So I like Houston as a 6. And that's saying something because before Denver clinched their spot, I'm like, Houston is the worst playoff team in this bunch. Please, Chargers, win that 5 seed because I want Houston. And then Denver gets in, and I'm like, oh, maybe Denver's the worst of the bunch. But, I mean, it's still a good football team. You make the playoffs, you're good, right? I mean, you're good enough to be in the playoff, so in the tournament. But
I didn't even think about it until now. It's just like, yeah, that'll be the fun thing from being a football fan and watching that game is going to be DeMarco Ryan.
Yep.
Jim Harbaugh. Both like hard on the sleeve, like John the whole game, talking, like locked in. Like this isn't like a passive coach. This isn't, coach just arms crossed, like sitting there quiet, let's see what happens. Like these are both like motivators.
Two great coaches, two very well coached teams, two franchises that these coaches took over shitty situations. And, Houston's was a unique situation, right? Where it was just kind of imploding because of the situation with the quarterback and whatever, and everything in the front office. So they had to completely rebuild, but he flipped it in a heartbeat, right? Yep. No one saw that coming. But they drafted really well. They had a strategy. Everybody's well coached. Kudos to them. It was incredible what they did. Then the Chargers, here's a team stocked with talent, stocked with every position with guys that are making big time money that that should be playing at a certain level, and then they suck. You win 4 games, so then it's like
for a second there, I thought you'd moved on to your like number 5 team. And I'm just like, is this the current Chargers? Are we hearing about like, is this what's happening now?
Well, I just thought that was incredible. A job that Jim Harbaugh did was he's a guy that came into a team with a lot of heavily paid guys and talented guys that have been through some shit, and look what he's done with just his personality and his enthusiasm and just connecting with guys.
I remember reading
incredible.
Just the fact that even when he came in on the first day, before the players had even shown up, he had like statements that he wanted like painted on the walls of the gym. And they had like 4 spots to like write like sayings on there, and he had all 4 of them like picked out. And it's just,
That's awesome.
How do you do that with a straight face?
Right. Yeah.
Like, I mean, you've managed people. I've managed people. Like, it's tougher to motivate people than you'd think.
Yep.
And if you throw drivel out there, they're going to roll their eyes and they're going to care about their day.
Yep.
So how do you get them to care?
He told this whole football team that he remembers the day he was born. And how do you not love that? How do you not believe in it? Because it could very easily be like, okay, who's this idiot? But instead it's like, okay, here's coach. He goes deep.
Next time we have a Harbaugh Bowl.
I
want them to ask John. Not only do you remember when Jim was born, but do you remember when you were born? Is this like a Harbaugh trait?
Yeah, they really should talk about that. All right, the 6th seed in the NFC. What do you got?
I would go with the Rams here.
Okay.
I know that this is a team that, again, kind of gets probably that Sunday night football bump of just, hey, they won a Super Bowl a couple years ago. They still have a lot of those familiar faces in there. But when you get down to it, Stafford's older. Their offensive line is not that great. And their defense has spots and holes in it. So this is definitely a team that snuck through with the problems that Seattle, Arizona, and the 49ers have had. They're probably a year ahead of where, McVay, had them on the rebuild. Mm-hmm. How do you rebuild a defense after winning, going all in for a Super Bowl? How do you rebuild it after Aaron Donald leaves? But yeah, I do think that this is a team like, would I be shocked if they beat the Vikings? No. But a lot of their disadvantages probably play a little bit more to the Vikings' strengths, or a lot of the strengths that are in here, which is just, hey, how are you going to hold up to a pass rush when your quarterback is immobile? And, can you hold anybody under 25 or 30 points that's left in here? So I think that's going to be some major knocks against them. They're probably lucky to have made, the price of admission.
I think it's interesting because guys like Stafford, age is a big deal, right? He's, but it seems like these elite guys that get to a certain level with the right coach can use kind of the mental part of the game to their advantage, and then they're not just an old quarterback, like they just can kind of outsmart you and outplay you that way. And he seems like he's doing a lot of that. And McVay is obviously, he's just a brilliant guy.
Yep.
But it seems like that's kind of like their thing. Because like you were saying, there's just a lot of weaknesses on this team, and the line's one of them. And like, how do they make that work? And it's like Stafford still makes it work, though.
Everything that I've said is true, but this is also a team that put 44 up against the Bills a month and a half ago.
Oh, yeah.
Now, they followed that with 3 games where they didn't break 20 points, and then they sat their guys last week. So it's like you kind of have like both of those things in there.
Yeah.
So it's just like, yes, nobody would be shocked if they go, pound for pound with any team in the NFC right now.
Yep.
It's just kind of, hey, same thing as these 7th place ones. You win that game, you're probably not winning another one.
I think it's interesting because that division, it should have been the Niners, right? Before the season started.
Yeah.
It should have been the Niners. Injury after injury after injury, internal fighting, all the things that you and I talked about at the beginning of the season, like what could tear down the Niners.
Yep.
It's this. This is the only thing that could tear down the Niners. They are the team this year.
Yep.
Those things happened. And then the other teams in the division aren't quite there, right? The Seahawks, the Cardinals.
Yep.
And then you come to the Rams. So at the end of the day, with all the weaknesses that all the teams have, what carries you to the top? And it's great coaching. And McVay's a great coach.
Yep.
And Super Bowl winning coach. And he's and then there you go. That's what takes you to the top in a bad division. And that's another example we were just talking about with Houston. When you're in a bad division, what's the difference maker? Great coaching. Boom. There you go. So it's kind of interesting. I think you're right. The Rams aren't one of the top teams by any means. They're a good team.
Yep.
They can make things happen. They score 44 against the Bills, right? But
if Puka went off for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns, nobody would be surprised.
Exactly. But if they lost, no one's going to be surprised. Yep. So, that makes a lot of sense. All right, number 5. Where do you want to go here?
So here.
You're going number 5 here.
So, and this is going to be a team that probably sounds a lot like the Houston Texans from last year. So we got the Commanders at this next spot, which is a situation where you have a team that everybody coming into the year is just like the talent level is not there. Mm-hmm. You add the superstar quarterback in there. They feast off a 4th place schedule, and they get into the dance. I put them above the Rams just for the fact of, Jay Daniels.
Yeah, quarterback, yeah.
Yeah. And they've got some, offensive weapons out there, as well with them. But yeah, I would put them in this, next spot. You talk about like the coaching, and it's kind of funny because you have Kingsbury, the offense coordinator, out in Arizona for years, can't do anything.
Yeah.
Even with, I think it was Texas, was it Tech or
Texas Tech? Yep.
Yep. Again, kind of a 500 coach with a great offense.
Yep. Incredible.
Well,
offense.
Hey,
Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And him and Jaden Daniels have managed to build up this offense that I think there's been at least 2 games here in the last 5 where you're just like the Commanders have lost, and then they score 3 touchdowns in the 4th quarter, and all of a sudden they're back into it.
Yep.
So they've got this burst potential to their offense. But again, they're not going to be hosting a game in here. How does a rookie? How does Bo Nix? How does Jaden Daniels? How do these guys react to going on the road in the playoffs? Everything on the line. Can they handle it, or do they pull a Darnold and turtle in the biggest game of the year?
Well, he'll rebound certainly, but it's the Commanders. I enjoyed them more when they were called the football team. I just want to put that out there. I thought that was the greatest name that could ever be, and it kind of just fit. Would love if they go back to that. I don't know if they'll ever consider this. It sounds like if they do consider a name change, it'll be back to the Redskins. But I love the idea of the football team. Yeah, just to change it again. Yeah, I love the idea of going back to the football team. But the Commanders, they are a fun story, with the quarterback, the rookie coming in and just completely bringing alive their offense and the team and the excitement there. And it kind of all started with that game kind of early in the year against Chicago. Chicago looked like they were on a little bit of a run. Maybe they're going to be turning things around. And then, they keep their eye off the ball on a Hail Mary. Washington wins the game. They never look back, right? They go on a tear. The Bears just completely implode from there. But no, it's awesome. I think it's fun to see teams like this get in. And like you're saying, the Houston, that makes a lot of sense, the comparison. I don't see Commanders making a run.
Yeah.
But it would be cool if they won a game. I just don't see I don't know.
This will also be one when we're doing our preview episode in 8 months.
Yeah.
That we'll kind of need to keep that Houston comparison in there before
Keep
we're like, the Commanders. Yeah, definitely the, if not the best, the second best team in this division.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, that's a good point. You just brought the division. When you get to play the Dallas Cowboys a couple times a year, that helps a lot.
And the Giants.
And the Giants a couple times a year. I mean,
I think I saw like since the Giants Super Bowl in like 2012, it's like them and the Jets have like the two of the worst 3 records in football.
Yeah.
Because there's basically, I mean, the guy was making the point. He was like, it's probably time that we stop acting like the Giants are on a different level than the Jets, because they're very, very similar. Like it's been a long time since the Giants have.
No, they're brothers, and they're living in the same house in many different ways, and that's where, we got to stop playing like they're something more than they are.
Yeah.
All right, number 5, the 5 seed in the AFC. I've got the Kansas City Chiefs, the 2-time defending champions, the actual in reality 1 seed in the NFL. They've only got 2 losses on the year, and that last one came in the last week when they benched all the starters and just got destroyed by Bo Nix and the Broncos. This is a Chiefs team that if you watch, I watch a lot of Chiefs games. Do you watch Chiefs games?
I've seen some Chiefs games.
We're always on primetime, right? So we're all watching Chiefs games, okay? Even if you're not a Chiefs fan, you're watching them. This is not a good football team. This is a well-coached team. Andy Reid, this has got to be his greatest team, like coaching accomplishment of what he's doing. He's got stars not playing like stars. He's plug-and-play guys, and things are happening. And even their star kicker that they paid all this money in the offseason, the big MAGA guy, he was hurt for part of it, and then he came back, and then he couldn't make extra points. Like, it's just, they're kind of like piecing together things. Obviously, when you have Patrick Mahomes at quarterback, you're always in the game, right? But this is, just watch the game. They're not that good. Like, this is like the worst 1 seed I've ever seen.
This almost like when you're like, all right, well, how does this compare to, my fifth place team there was the Commanders. And we talk about, all right, hey, the belief that probably came out of getting that Hail Mary. Like, hey, you get that Hail Mary pass, like, hey, maybe we're never out of a game.
Right.
So how much of this Chiefs team is just the belief
they know they're never
in
out
Mahomes?
Of it.
And in the previous 2 Super Bowl wins, of just like, hey, no matter what happens, we're always going to figure out.
And this isn't me saying they don't have great players, because they have great players and they have great coaches and everything about them, and they're 2-time defending champs for God's sake. So I'm not putting that down. What I'm saying is the performance hasn't been there. And they've got legends. They've got Hall of Famers on this team. Tight end, Travis Kelce, that isn't playing up to his contract right now.
That was kind of one of the damning things that I saw this last week. I saw like an article talking about, Tyreek Hill possibly forcing his way out. Like, oh, well, could we do a Chiefs reunion? And it was like the argument for the Chiefs reunion was like, well, Rashee Rice is probably not going to be ready at the beginning of the season. And then they're like, Hollywood Brown isn't signed for next year. And it's just like, Hollywood Brown's played 2 games this year. That's your, that's who you're depending on is a small wide receiver in his 7th year that has never hit it big. But that's your offensive weapon.
And I think you nailed it when your entire team has something to believe in, and it's like, all right, the confidence is there that we're never out of it no matter what because of XYZ. If Patrick Mahomes is on the field, they have that belief. And they should have it, right? Because he's got the resume. But there's going to be a time here, and it's going to happen in this playoffs where they don't win, where it doesn't add up, and it's over. And that's okay. They had their run. But 3-time is not going to happen. This is not, of the 3 years of the last 2 championship teams in this one, this is above and beyond. Even though their record's incredible, this is above and beyond the worst team of those 3.
The Chiefs winning would require basically your 6th or 7th place team or your 4th place team that you've got on your list
to go up and win.
They would need to win because the Chiefs have that bye. And hey, they just need to win that 1 game against a subpar opponent, and they're all of a sudden in the AFC Championship game, and then who knows what?
And then who knows what? And
that's so they do have a path, but
they have a path.
It's very unlikely.
And it's one of those things too, where people will say, and they've said it loudly this year that they've had some officiating things swing their way. Well, that happens in every game. That happens every season. That happens with multiple amounts of teams. Just watch the games, right? I mean, this happens.
It's probably one of the most boring sports takes.
Right. So that's not real. Like there's no officiating, thing with the Chiefs. But you watch the games and you're like, okay, here we go again. Well, that's just a matter of the game. So I'm not putting that into contention. Now, will I say that maybe in the playoffs against a team, close game at the end of the game, and then a big call comes and it goes the Chiefs' way? Sure, that could happen. But that doesn't mean that was why. So I don't believe in that take.
It's like LeBron or Jordan or Kobe or any of these guys when they would catch the foul. Like, obviously the ref's watching the best player out there.
Yep. That's always going to happen.
Darnold gets his head twisted off and, doesn't get the face mask call in the Vikings' first match against the Rams. And it's just like, well, yeah, he's Sam Darnold.
What's the saying?
Patrick Mahomes probably gets that call.
And what's the saying? Isn't it like squeaky wheel eats the cheese or something like that? Like yeah, no.
Squeaky mouse gets
squeaky
the cheese.
mouse. Okay, because Mahomes is
squeaky wheel gets
squeaky
greased.
wheel gets greased. Okay, well, Mahomes he's not afraid to talk. He's not afraid to go and talk to the refs and be like, hey, this guy,
he's got
watch
some
him.
Real Phillip Rivers energy in that regard.
He does. That's the AFC West, baby. That's how they play. It's different football. So, I've got the Chiefs at 5, and I stand behind it. You know what? I consider them lower, but I'm like, yeah, that's a good team, and they're very. I mean, this Andy Reid. This is his best coaching. I don't know.
I could have made an argument that I think probably your number 4 team probably could have went under there. Honestly, your number 4 team probably could have been the number 7
even
team.
lower, correct.
So I do think, and kind of when we were approaching this and like doing a little bit of research, I was like, even though we've kind of disregarded all the teams so far, like the NFC's definitely, I think, got the sexier teams this year as far as just storylines and what's going on. I mean, just the fact.
Well, I think top down. Yeah, top down they do, because you could almost take every team in the NFC 7 and say, all right, there's a reason why on all of them. And then you go to the AFC, and maybe they're not as sexy, but I do think the tippy top has a lot more to say than almost any. Well, I mean, there's one team at the top of the NFC that probably has the story of all stories, but the AFC, the tippy top couple of teams has some incredible storytelling there.
And I feel like we might even had this conversation back in before our preview, but we were talking about like just the imbalance of like quarterbacks from like conference, because I think if you took all the conferences, you'd obviously say the AFC should be the better one, just because it's got Mahomes, it's got Lamar, it's got Burrow, it's got Herbert, it's got, like the list goes on. And the NFC side, it's a little bit more. I mean, who are you going to put up there? You going to put Goff? You going to put Jalen Hurts? Like, well, are you going to put those over any of those guys that I just said?
Well, that's the thing. You look at, just look at the teams that made the playoffs in the AFC. I'm not going to count Bo Nix into that range. Somebody attends his birthday party, I'll start talking. But I'm not going to talk about it till then. C.J. Stroud, he's pretty freaking good. Could you put him into that range where he's exciting? Patrick Mahomes? Certainly, right? Russell Wilson on the back end, but probably right. At least this year, we'll give him this year and see how it ends.
This year, from like week 4 to 8 or whatever.
But Justin Herbert, Josh Allen. I mean, you just go on and on. I mean, there's all these quarterbacks in the AFC that are just so much fun, and then it's a little different on the NFC side.
But I would say that the NFC side, it seems like the teams are probably more complete. Like there's more competitors in there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So what do we got? We talk about the Chiefs. All right. I'm going to go to you then with the 4 seed in the NFC.
Okay. And wow, I'm actually looking at my details here, and I'm actually missing a team, which is a little embarrassing, a point to get in here. So I'm glad that you did mention that there were 7 teams, so that I could say Tampa Bay here. I was ready to jump into the top 3. That's it. And I don't even know anything about this team, because honestly, now that I'm thinking about them, I probably would have put them a little bit lower. But we got Tampa Bay, the forgotten NFC South team.
I was wondering why you had Tampa Bay so high. I'm like, I've got Tampa Bay as my 6th seed. I mean, and you just kept going on.
Look at my extensive notes here. I didn't even put Tampa Bay on it.
Well,
they're the forgotten team.
They are the forgotten team.
I do like the.
Tampa Bay is
can
like
I filibust? How long is this episode? Can I just talk through the rest of this episode and just get to the end of it? And well, thanks. We'll talk again next week.
Yeah. You just keep going.
No, I mean Tampa Bay again. They're almost like the Rams, and just the fact that they have the pedigree, like they have players that you know.
Baker Mayfield, baby.
They have players that you know from the last couple seasons. They have Mike Evans, obviously, with his exciting, breaking 1,000 again, even with the injury earlier in the year. Like, they have some of those players on defense that Chris Collinsworth is going to say, this is the guy who does this best in the NFL.
Yeah.
But they're not they're not the storyline team.
No.
Like, this is another one in here that would kind of go into that muddled middle of the playoffs.
This could have been the Falcons. This could have been the Saints.
Well, I mean, if it was the Falcons, they would have been 7. Like,
but this is like, to me, the Bucs are like the equivalent of any of those teams. Like it didn't matter who came out of the South. They're the 6-7 spot. Depending on the team. Because if it was the Falcons, they're the 7. I like the Bucs more than the Packers.
We've talked about matchups on every single team so far.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did the Commanders. We did not even focus on the fact that they will be traveling to the Bucs.
They're traveling to the
Bucs. I guess
they are.
We've already chalked it. I mean, the Bucs are better, obviously, because they're higher in my rankings because I forgot them. But obviously they're going to lose to the steamroller of the team right underneath them.
This is the 4 seed, right? I have the Commanders at 4, and as you're like going through all these teams, the Bucs are sitting. I'm like, what? But more power to you. All right, the 4 seed in the AFC, I've got the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I know you're thinking that could be like the 6 or 7, maybe even not even in the playoffs. And I'm with you there.
Yep.
But what I do like about them now that they're in the tournament is that they're playing the Ravens in the first round, which is a divisional opponent, and they split this season.
Yep.
And and Mike Tomlin, again, great football coach, right? So he does a great job. He's going to have his team well prepared. The defense is really good. I may regret saying this. I like Russell Wilson in this playoffs. I think
you are a sucker for a redemption story.
I really am. And I feel like Russ, this is a big deal for him. I think that he's going to go all out. You know what? It would surprise me if they upset the Ravens.
So, kind of to that, and it's something that I think about a lot with like fantasy football. All right, so you make the playoffs. Like, yeah, obviously you're hoping that your team has a good week.
Yeah.
But even better than your team having a good week is your opponent having a bad week.
Yeah.
Like, just one of those, like, hey, I didn't even play to my full potential, but I still won by like 30 points.
Yep.
And I do, like, unfortunately, that's been the book on Lamar so far in his career.
Yeah.
Is that he's one of those guys, like, yeah, we could see a repeat of the Ravens-Steelers game from 4 weeks ago where it was just a boat race and the Steelers did not stand a chance.
Mm-hmm.
But we've also seen those games from Lamar in the past where he's won MVP and just disappeared in the game. And it could be one of those where the Steelers win an ugly game, 20-14.
Yeah.
And we're all talking about how they, bottled up the running game, or they took Zay Flowers out and made, the Ravens just a running team.
And that's 100% what I think is going to happen. If you eliminate Derrick Henry from producing on offense, if you can, I guess, then take away Zay, then now you just got to take away Lamar, who's his own deal, right? But he tends to not play as well in the playoffs. This is going to be another year. He's going to win the MVP. I could see the Steelers upsetting this one. And if there's a team that they could upset, like confidently, it's the team that they've already beaten and a team they know very, very well. So that's why I'm like, yeah, I like the Steelers right now. I like them in this spot, and I like them being able to have a potential for a run then.
That's kind of funny because just what's the line right now?
No, I'm going to look it up because that's I was thinking the same thing as we're
talking. That might be one of your recommendations.
This might be one of my bets.
Is, especially, I mean, if it's a 6.5 or a 7-point spread on that, like, all right.
Yeah, this is one of those games that, why do I keep spelling Warhorse Warborse? That doesn't make any sense.
And it is kind of funny that you're having trouble finding the lines because I feel like the lines are everywhere. It's kind of crazy now to turn on. Like,
I suppose
Sunday
I could have just
football.
opened ESPN.
Yeah, or ESPN and just see it on the app.
And instead, I'm like, give me the lines here locally.
I'm trying to think of who the comedian is. I saw somebody had like a joke that was basically like, in 5 years, the mega churches will have the game lines during church on Sunday mornings. And it was just like, that actually seems like
that actually is legit.
Like a very straightforward.
Yep. I ain't mad about it either. All right, NFL. Steelers. Well, it's...
Oh, calm down, Johnny.
9.5.
We're not saying anything bad about religion.
Baltimore, 9.5.
9.5. Yeah, so I mean...
I'm taking Pittsburgh.
You get 9 points?
9.5 points. Why wouldn't you? This is going to be a close game.
That, just to throw the wrestling analogies in there, like, how'd you feel, though? Like, all right, Pittsburgh's down by, like, 14. Russell Wilson goes down in the third quarter. Like, you get the Stone Cold music when Justin Fields comes out there. Like, there's another one of those narratives that you can make where it's just like, oh, Fields gets forced into this game. Well, guess what? The Ravens didn't practice for, Justin Fields that's going to run for 70 yards.
And this team played okay with Justin Fields at quarterback. Yeah. There was a lot of controversy when he instantly made the decision to go to Russ. So why not? It is interesting. I love the Steelers at 9.5. I liked them to win outright, let alone 9.5. What?
I'm still skeptical on that part, but we'll get to the other side of the.
Are we gonna go? Are we gonna place this bet tonight? I don't. 9.5's gold. All right, so the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's my 4 seed in the AFC. In the AFC 3 seed, it's my Los Angeles Chargers.
I was waiting for these guys to show up.
So, in reality, they're the 5 seed.
Yep.
And they're the best of the wild card teams, falling a few games back of the Kansas City Chiefs, right? We played the Chiefs tough. We did get swept, but we played them tough in both games. This Chargers team is, like we've talked about throughout, a team that beat up on bad teams.
Yep.
They competed very well with some good teams and even had a couple of really good wins. This is a team that's performing at a high level at the best time of season. Is finally starting to get a little healthy. They had injuries throughout from the get, including at quarterback Justin Herbert. So this is a Jim Harbaugh team that I think is prepared and ready for playoff football, and I love our matchup at Houston. Yeah. And if you play Houston in the wild card round, you play Saturday afternoon. So that's just part of the deal. We just kind of knew it, and that's okay. As a fan, I'll take it.
That's kind of the surprising thing because it's just like, all right, well, you think about it, it's like obviously we've talked about Jim Harbaugh already today, and just that, but you're not really taking a coaching advantage on this.
No,
because you're talking about the other teams in the playoffs, like the teams that are below this. I mean, Andy Reid's pretty good.
Yep.
Mike Tomlin's pretty good. Yep. Sean Payton's pretty good. John Harbaugh's pretty good.
Yep.
Like you've got a lot of those. So it does become one of those where the sum is greater than the parts. Because again, if you went on the quarterback side, well, you'd say, Herbert is good, but you probably would have a tough time making an argument that he's a top 3 quarterback in the AFC.
And that's the thing. Statistically, you would say yes. You look at him, his build, all the analytics of just how
he grow
you
his
build
hair
a quarterback.
Back out?
It's kind of short.
Yeah.
So here's a guy that looks the part, plays the part, is fast, is tall, is strong, can throw a mile, right? And all the stats say this guy's incredible. And then you look at the game by game by game, and it's like we miss it in some big moments in some big games. And he's the guy with the ball in his hand.
You know, as you described him, I couldn't help but just think of how great of a spokes athlete he'd be for Brat Spring.
He would be.
North Korea, Brat Spring.
You think Herbert's going to be the guy they bring in and be like, it's Brat season at North Korea grocer. What? Brat Spring, is that what we're calling it?
I'm almost thinking of Bill Murray in the the Scarlett Johansson movie where he's over in Japan.
Oh, Japan, yeah.
And he's doing like the advertisements, and he doesn't speak like the Japanese people. Like, I feel like that would be Herbert.
It'd be like that,
he'd just be sitting there punching the football.
Yep.
Just
I love
Brat
ball.
Spring.
Brat Spring. Well, I like our defense. I like our defense a lot. I think our defense can make plays, and really there was a point deep into the season where it's like no one had scored more than 20 on us. Mm-hmm. They're playing very well here in the stretch run, into the playoffs. Offensively, our running game's incredible. That's Jim Harbaugh football, right? Just beat them at the line of scrimmage. I think that's been going well. And then the one of the weaknesses going into the season was you have nobody that's going to catch the ball for Herbert, and then that's kind of worked out, where guys have just stepped up, and Lad McConkey has turned into a guy, and it's just worked out, right? But I like this team. I like this team a lot. I think and this is not just me being a Chargers fan. Like, I am optimistic as a Chargers fan that this is a team that I think can make a run. I like us playing at Houston. We're at Houston in the first round. We're the 5 seed. We're a 2.5-point favorite. I think we're going to win this game outright.
Yep.
And then that's where it's like, all right, if no upsets happen, then we go into KC Mo and we play the Chiefs, and I like our chances against the Chiefs. So I think this is a good football team comparatively, but I think to your point, when you're stacking it all up, if you're not winning the coaching category, what are you winning?
Yep.
I'd say defensively we're winning that, special teams we're winning that, and then offensively, statistically you could. Guys just haven't proven it yet.
Yep.
Mainly at quarterback. And that's where this is the year he's got to do it.
I think it's kind of crazy just to think, again, this is Jim Harbaugh's first year.
Yeah.
Like,
feels like he's been there forever.
Well, but also, I mean, could you make the argument that this will be the worst year?
Right. Yeah.
Like, as far as like he doesn't have the talent in there.
Yep.
The Chargers are a bit empty cupboard.
Yep.
Ladd was a big deal this year because that wide receiver room did not look strong without him.
No, and if you take him out, because he spent some time hurt.
Yep.
You take him out, it doesn't look very strong. So Ladd was huge.
I mean, you think about that, and it's just like, okay, is that offensive line going to get better? Is that defensive line going to get better? Like, this could be a team that, again, is a year or two underbaked, but
yeah, who knows?
Maybe it's got it.
Maybe this is it. Yeah. All right, number 3 in the NFC.
I hate to do it. I hate to put the Vikings here. I think if the Vikings would have won at Detroit last week, I probably would have put them as number 2. I probably have to give the nod to the other 2 teams that we haven't listed so far, just because they've got that home field, and I don't trust the Vikings necessarily going to play at Philly. But the Vikings are another team that they like coming into the season, they don't belong here. Mm-hmm. Like, they have that talent deficiency. Now, Kwesi, their GM, has done a fantastic job of bringing in defensive players. Grenard from Houston, Van Ginkel from the Dolphins, both Pro Bowlers, they're on the edges. Cashman, they drafted Ivan Pace. Like, they've rebuilt this defense in the space of a season to be one of the most, like, competitive defenses out there. Their number 3 spot probably comes a lot just due to Sam Darnold.
Sam Darnold played a hell of a year.
Yeah.
Played a hell of a year. One bad game happened to be last week.
Yeah. And it's not all doom and gloom.
It is not all, yeah.
Like, they went 14-3. Their Vegas line for wins at the beginning of the season was 6.5, which I'm fairly certain that when we did this show back before the season, we were both like, You got to take that over. Like,
we said that was the easiest over on the board. Yeah.
The Vikings are going to be a 500 team.
Right.
That's just who the Vikings are always a 500 team at
they
worst.
had a good record last year. This was going to be a good-ish team no matter what. Like, that was the easiest over of the bunch.
And that's where, they did get overawed against Detroit this last week. Sam Darnold went 0 for 8 in goal-to-go situations. 0 for 8, where the Vikings have been one of the best teams in the red zone all year. Like, that's not going to happen again.
No.
Like, they've got too many weapons for that to happen again.
Yep.
I hate the idea that I would almost rather them win this week and go play at Detroit, and hopefully somebody else takes Philly. But I just have too many bad memories of Vikings going on the road in January to Philadelphia and playing outside, playing in that stadium, in that environment.
Well, this is the situation where you've got a really good Vikings team that, 3 losses on the year, and they are a 5 seed traveling to on the road against a team with a far less record in the LA Rams, and the Vikings are actually a 1-point favorite at LA.
Yep.
So this is a situation where you love to see the Vikings probably higher placed because their record shows it, but that's not how the NFL does it, and that's exactly why you have them where you have them. But
the symmetry is strong with this one too, where it's like, so before last week, the Vikings only had 2 losses. Well, they lost to Detroit the first time they played them. Their following game was at the Rams.
Oh, wow.
And they ended up losing to the Rams too. And so now here you have it, like, okay, well, they lost to Detroit on Sunday, and now here they are at the Rams again.
See, and I didn't think there was any shame in losing. Obviously, you'd love to see the Vikings go in last week and take care of business and beat Detroit.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any shame in losing that game because Detroit's on like another level right now.
Well,
so you just kind of like, all right, get in and get out healthy and gear up for the playoffs. You're already in. You already got, kind of know the deal.
Well, and that's the thing. The Vikings had won 9 straight.
Yeah.
So it's just like, okay, if they won 10 straight and then laid the stinker.
Right. It's going to happen.
Like, you almost want the adversity to hit you,
Yep.
It's like, all right, does the team get better for it? Can you learn from it? Because, the vibes are good right now in Minnesota. I mean, they've got, a great coach. First Vikings coach to ever have 13 wins twice.
I heard he might get traded.
Yeah, that's false.
Okay. All right, you heard it here first, guys. Don't laugh with me.
Now, I think a lot more likely is just Flores could get snagged.
Okay. Well, that makes sense.
But he also has an active lawsuit against the NFL, still dating back to
in Miami.
The Bill Belichick text.
That's right.
Where Bill Belichick texted him congratulations, wanting to send it to Mike Flores instead of Mike Dable.
Yeah.
Before Flores, I think it was before Flores had even done his interview for it.
Yeah. Well, Bill Belichick, historically known for missing the details.
yeah. But so it's just, they've got that. I mean, the vibes are good. Best celebrations, bar none this year.
Oh, the touchdown dances are crazy.
Yeah,
they're just
the defense, Murphy on his stuff. I mean, I think he made the Pro Bowl just due to
the dances. That's awesome.
But yes, I am expecting them to take care of business here with the Rams and Dan Campbell.
Yep.
During the post game handshake, I mean,
he said he'd see him a couple weeks.
In 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, he knows. He knows the deal. There was nothing wrong with losing that game. As the game started to kind of fall apart there a little bit, it was like, all right, just get out healthy. Just get out healthy. I mean, you could fight, sure. Get out healthy. I mean, I
would have been a lot more upset if the Vikings had lost to the Packers the first, that week before. But that's just because the Packers suck.
Yeah, they're pretty bad. So the number 2 seed in the NFC then has to be.
Now I'm going with the Eagles on
the
this
Eagles.
one.
Yep.
So I think the Eagles playing outside with that Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley combination is kind of scary on offense because, again, we know just time immemorial from the very beginning of the NFL, you don't want to tackle a guy when it's freezing. Like, it's scary. Like, it hurts. Like, it's going to be painful.
What about I know this, we're talking about the Eagles, but we were talking about how of a shit show the Giants are. And they had Saquon Barkley.
Yep.
And he wanted to be a Giant.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, go test the market and see, but just hit us up so we have a chance
Isn't it amazing that they're keeping that coaching GM together?
Yeah, that's just nuts. Like, they're the reason it all fell apart, 100%. And it wasn't just, play calling and coaching and strategy. It was the logistics of putting together your roster.
Yep.
They didn't handle it. And it's on camera. We all saw it.
Yep.
Saquon Barkley, all-time year. Yeah, anyway.
Well,
the Eagles.
Yeah.
I know, I say all-time, and you're like, well, there's better guys.
I think the toughest part for me on that Saquon thing was he was still 100 yards off from the record.
Yeah.
He had 16
And he
games.
had the 16 games. Yep.
So it would be like if he broke the record, it would be because he did it on the 17.
Right.
So he was already 100 yards behind Dickerson, 100 yards behind Peterson, like 100 yards, behind CJ.
So was he top
CJ
5?
2K?
Was he top 5?
Yeah. Actually, I mean, that's a good question there.
Because if he's top 5 rushing performance in a single season, yards-wise, that's all time. I mean, how many other guys can say they did that? I mean, not everybody can. Is he more than OJ? Because if you get more than OJ Simpson, you're in another league class in my book.
He did not make top 5.
He did not. Is OJ higher?
He was number 8. This was the number 8 season overall. So he got beat by Dickerson, Peterson, Jamal Lewis, Barry Sanders, Derrick Henry, Terrell Davis, Chris Johnson,
OJ Simpson.
CJ 2K, and he just passed OJ. He passed OJ by 2 yards.
That son of a bitch.
OJ, I mean,
that son of a bitch.
Maybe OJ comes back. Maybe he comes back to get the record.
OJ's dead. On this. You come on this podcast and you talk about OJ Simpson.
I haven't got to that episode yet. I'm still on LeBron James Trollfoot.
OJ Simpson was found not guilty. That's all I'm saying. I almost said he's a good guy. But he was a hell of a football player.
I think Kyle would have shadow banned you if you said that.
He's like, you're done. You no longer own this podcast.
But yes, I think Philly's got a lot of advantages just by the fact that, I mean, unless they play Detroit, they're going to be playing at home. And that is a scarier team to play at home than it would be anywhere else. Because I know that they beat the Green Bay earlier this season. They beat the Ravens, and I think they beat the Steelers too. Like, they have some good wins on there, but they also, for the last month and a half, they really haven't had those challenges. So,
well, that's, what it feels like too. All season long, their head coach has been on the hot seat. Isn't it nuts? I found like he's gonna get fired any week,
and this is probably a whole nother show here, but because I know that this is gonna upset you more than anything. But like Deion, they're talking about Deion becoming a head coach in the NFL, and I'm just like, for what? And they're like, well, he'd do the same type of deal. He'd be that CEO head coach. And so it's just like, all right, well, you look at the most successful coaches, the coaches that we've looked at. Like Andy Reid contributes. Jim Harbaugh contributes. Like Tomlin contributes. Like these guys all contribute to that game plan.
Yep.
And now you're going to say like, oh, we've got the CEO who doesn't contribute to the game plan. He's just overseeing all the different units doing their stuff. And I'm like, who's successful doing that? And they were like, the Philadelphia Eagles. That's their coach.
That's and it was the example.
It stopped me in my tracks, and I was just like, I have nothing to respond to that. Right. I have nothing like, okay, I guess, hey, it doesn't work for most people, but maybe it'll work for us.
It works. And you know what? And for some it works, and sometimes you look at the business too and be like, what's going to sell? We need butts in the seats. We need to sell merchandise. We need excitement. We need free agents to want to come here. And Deion is the guy to do that. And that's why he's going to be the new head football coach of the Dallas Cowboys. Even though there's a lot of Raider talk, and I'm not like, I'm starting to believe in that a little bit, but I've been, from the get saying that this season all along, he's going to be a Dallas Cowboy. So
you put Deion coaching the Raiders with Kirk Cousins as his quarterback, like,
oh man,
That's a show for the ages.
You think he's going to start Kirk over Shador?
Oh, Shador's probably getting drafted by the Titans. So
well, they're a package deal, so they're going together. It's going to be awesome. All right, Philadelphia Eagles, your number 2 seed in the NFC. And the AFC at number 2, I've got the Baltimore Ravens. I don't have a lot to say about them other than they've been really, really good.
Yeah.
Consistent. The running game.
They destroyed the Bills when they played them.
Yeah, getting Derrick Henry has been just the rock they needed at the running game. Yep. And it's kind of funny because the Chargers took the 2 running backs that the Ravens had, that the Ravens didn't want, and it's worked out really well for the Chargers. And then the Ravens upgraded with Derrick Henry, who's, great, and that has worked out really well for the Ravens. Lamar Jackson probably going to have another MVP.
I like your, bringing up like, Chargers got these cast-offs. Like,
yeah.
I mean, the Chiefs got the cast-off of Hollywood Brown.
Yeah, they did.
That just shows you how dire their straits are.
Absolutely. The Ravens are great, right? They took care of business in a division that was very competitive. I know we've kind of joked and shit on the Bengals, the whole show, but that's a team that just, fell in a hole early on and couldn't get out of it fast enough. And but they were tough and they played toe to toe with anybody. The Ravens are really good. They put them down. So, I would not surprise me if the Ravens were the AFC Super Bowl team, but it also wouldn't surprise me if they lost week in the wild card round because Lamar hasn't proven anything in the playoffs. So,
well, that's tough. I mean, you just look back at we were talking the single season rushing record, and it's just Adrian Peterson's team made it. They didn't go very far.
They didn't go, yeah, exactly.
It's like if you're dependent on a running back, to be that much,
right.
There's a long history of great running backs that don't have great playoffs, just due to how that game script goes. So, yeah, if Lamar finds either, hey, the running game isn't going to go there, all right, is he able to make those plays passing?
Mm-hmm.
He can.
He can. Yeah.
If Zay Flowers, if Mark Andrews get taken away on the passing, can they survive just on the rushing?
Right.
They can.
They could. Yeah, that's the thing. But you take Derrick Henry away, and then Lamar becomes the running game, right?
No.
And I will say that I was wrong when we did our pre-season talk, and I did this on 2 different podcasts. I did this on WTL, and I did this on Laugh With Me. I said that Lamar gets all this hype about being a running quarterback, and he doesn't even run that much. And then the guy broke the record for most rushing yards from a quarterback. I couldn't have been more wrong. And when I saw that he got the record, I'm like, I gotta reevaluate this. And I looked.
He
and
became
I'm
the first quarterback with 4,000 yards passing and 800 yards rushing or something.
I looked at it. And I'm like, I couldn't have been more wrong. I don't know where I got my information, but But anyway, the Ravens really, really good. They've been really, really good for a long time now with Lamar at quarterback. And I wouldn't surprise me if they went to the Super Bowl. Wouldn't surprise me if they lost in round 1.
No,
that's just kind of how this team's always been. Nothing's really changed. They have upgraded at spots, but kind of the same. So the number 1 seed in the AFC, and this
before you get into this, just if you know about football, you already know who our number 1 seeds are going to be for both these. But just when you think about sad sack franchises, when you think of it's
a bottom 5.
If you did a bottom 5 for all of football, it's a very good chance that these one of these teams is probably the worst, and one of these teams is probably floating around there just for neither one of them won a Super Bowl.
Yep.
I mean, the team that you're about to announce has famously lost multiple Super Bowls
in a row.
Yes, in a row. But
was it 4? It was something
I think it was
that.
4, the early 90s.
My favorite team, the Chargers, has never even played in 4 Super Bowls, let alone lost 4 in a row. Yeah, and the team you're going to talk about is the if you had a definition in the dictionary of sad sack teams of the NFL history, this is it. This is the one.
No, and yes, and one of those that not too long ago here in the last couple of years was celebrating their first playoff win since the 90s.
Yup. It's kind of interesting that you find these teams and what's the difference and what gets them there, because both the Buffalo Bills, right, in the AFC. They're to me the 1 seed. They're the 2 seed in reality, but they're the best team. I mean, they're the one to beat. Josh Allen is on a tear and has been from the get. Like if Lamar doesn't win MVP, it's going to be Josh Allen, or Joe. Is Joe Burrow going to win MVP?
Well, and it kind of brought up, here we were just talking about how great Lamar Jackson is. So what's the difference between Lamar and like Josh Allen? So a couple years ago, you had that legendary AFC Championship where Patrick Mahomes scored the touchdown in 13 seconds.
Yep.
Well, that was in answer to Josh Allen scoring a touchdown in 30 seconds.
Right.
So we've seen that stretch from Josh Allen.
We've seen it. Yeah.
We haven't seen that stretch from a Lamar where it's just, hey, we got 20 seconds. I got to score a touchdown.
Go win us the game. Yep. Yeah, Josh Allen's certainly capable of it and has shown that he's capable of it. He's also lost big games standing on the sideline watching.
Yep.
Many of them, right? And we've seen that too. So it's not just on him. He's great. What else is new, right? This team's just really been good. Like, it seemed like it was, going into the year, there was a handful of teams that were like, all right, this is our all-in year. This is a team that may not be together again next year, top down. We've had a good run, but we haven't quite got there.
Yep.
The Bills are one of them. They're like the one that put it together.
And that's, we've kind of said a couple times that teams that are ahead of schedule.
Yeah.
Like the Bills were getting rid of, Diggs and some of the big contracts.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people were kind of like, well, it's going to take a year, maybe 2. Like you're going to have to rebuild, restock.
Yep. Yeah, this is a team that's like, if we don't do it this year, we're going to have to retool, figure it out, maybe make a coaching change that would surprise people, but because they haven't got it,
Yep.
This is a really good team that is obviously, it's like I'm sitting here as a Chargers fan thinking I need the Bills to get upset.
Yeah.
I don't want to play them.
The same thing that I'm saying with the Eagles.
Yeah.
I don't want to play Vikings fan.
Yeah.
Like I wish nothing but the worst on the Packers, but hey, I mean, if they knock the Eagles off, I'm there for it.
Wouldn't break my heart if the Bills were knocked out here in the first round, but it's not likely. They're so good. I mean, they should be the one. That's where it's like it really sucks that they seed it the way they do. This is a really good team, and they have been all season. But
just imagine you kind of dictating a letter to Goodell. It really sucks.
It really sucks.
It really sucks that the Bills aren't the first seed.
Yeah.
That the Vikings go 14-3 and they're not hosting a game. It really sucks.
It really, and that's my whole stance. You think you'd read it? Do you think Roger Goodell has people that read his things, or do you think he reads it?
What kind of stationery you got? Because
I got a legal pad in front of you.
I mean, not with that.
All right, I'll figure something else out. I'd probably send an email.
Would
that go to junk? If I send him an email, is it going to junk?
100%.
All right.
I think you got to go borrow some stationery from your kids. Your kids probably have some sort of novelty, kids.
The unicorn on?
Yeah, the unicorn.
Should I write in crayon?
Ninja Turtle or something.
It really sucks that the bill. It's like this nice 13-year-old sending this letter, Jeremy Odem. I'm not 13.
Yeah.
Damn it.
I signed it. Jeremy Odem, Laugh With Me Pod.
I should send it in crayon. See if he thinks I'm a kid. He'll come on the pod.
Well, or you have Johnny write it. He's got the handwriting.
Writes like a child. Yeah, I love it. The reading, the reading level of a child as well.
Dictate it to Johnny. Johnny writes it down, and then have Braden spell check it.
Yeah, good call. You don't want me doing that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we know who your one is. This team's incredible.
And it's also one of those that I would Detroit Lions. I mean, I would a little bit put them in that paper tiger type of category right now, of just you could break them. Maybe a glass tiger would be a better way of saying it. If somebody hit them hard enough, this team could shatter. Their defense is so depleted. Their offense is depleted. Although I hear that David Montgomery, now that he's skipped, is might be back. But
he's coming back.
It's another one of those things where it's just if they got themselves in a bad situation early in a game, can they dig out? Because we didn't really see them have to do very many games where they came back. Yeah,
that's a good point. They haven't been in bad spots really all season. They're a really good team.
I mean, I was whining earlier about the Vikings going 0 for 8, goal to go in that game. But the thing is like, even if the Vikings scored 2 touchdowns in the first half and they go in there and it's, 23 to 10, they're probably not safe in that game because the Lions offense eventually like wore down that defense. But you could see where like a team that was able to put consistent pressure on them would be able to win that. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of one of those like, all right, well, if you're betting on the Lions each week and I'm betting on it and we're both sitting here in agreement like, oh, they could lose, well, stop betting on them.
Stop betting on them, yeah.
Well, you first.
Yeah, who's going to stop?
Yeah, and so it's kind of like we haven't.
They're on bye. I'm like, what's their line? They're on bye.
We haven't seen them lose, so we don't necessarily know what that looks like. Like they lost to the Bucks, the forgotten team.
But yeah, and that was just such a weird anomaly of a game. But we talked about like players on teams that give you hope no matter what because they're on the field, like Patrick Mahomes, right?
No.
Dan Campbell's like that just as the head coach. It just seems like with him there, they feel like they can do anything.
Yep.
Because he's got their back and he's just like, go, go, go. Like, he's just ballsy out there.
Well, it was like in that Vikings game. Like, the Vikings stopped 2 4th downs and got turnovers off of it. The Vikings forced 2 turnovers. They didn't have any turnovers of themselves other than turnover on downs. And they still got beat by 20 plus points.
They did.
And it's just,
It's wild.
But again, I mean, I've been a fan of that for a long time of just, hey, you got to go for it. We play to win the game.
Yep.
Go for it.
Yep. Well, Detroit Lions. At the end of the day, we just ranked all the teams, right? 1 through 7. Who's going to the Super Bowl from the NFC?
I would, if I had to bet my life on it. I didn't know what stakes to put on this.
Yeah, you just
that was probably a bit much.
Wow,
that was probably a bit much. If I had to bet $1,000.
Okay, that's much better.
Oof.
Yikes.
I do think the Eagles probably have that shot.
Okay.
Just from their path. Like, they're the farthest away from Detroit. And as we said, there's 3 teams in the NFC, and then there's a fall off.
Mm-hmm.
And we already know, just due to how the wild card is, the Vikings are going, like, it's almost assured that they're going to have to play at Detroit before they play at Philly. And it's just like, okay, so Philly's just got to sit and see who wins that game.
Here's how I think the AFC is going to play out. And this is as a Chargers fan. Okay? I feel like we're gonna blow it. We're gonna lose to Houston. Okay? And then Houston now is playing the Chiefs. Well, the Chiefs are gonna win that game.
Yep.
So then the Chiefs have advanced. Then I see the Broncos upsetting the Bills.
Oh, jeez.
And then I see the Ravens beating the Steelers. And then the Broncos beating the Ravens.
This is contrary to your entire rankings.
And the
objection
Chiefs beating the Broncos. And the Chiefs going to the Super Bowl again with the easy path, even though they're not that good.
How often did we see that during like the Belichick's the Patriots years?
Like,
where it was just like, this is the most boring Patriots team ever.
Like, if I had
but somehow they face like Jacksonville
but you can
in the
see
AFC Championship, and you're just like, why? How?
You can see it. You can see the poster. You can see Patrick Mahomes versus Bo Nix, Super Bowl, Sean Payton versus Andy Reid. You can see it. I don't want it, right? This is the path for the Chiefs. If that doesn't happen, I mean, Buffalo's pretty freaking good.
I like how we both picked scenarios that we hate.
Yeah, well, because we root for teams that we've had so much more heartbreak than success.
I think I would probably pick. I mean, outside of Green Bay, let's just drop them off.
Yeah,
but I think I'd pick any other team in the NFC over the Philly on just from my enjoyment level as a fan.
Yep.
But I just assume that bad things are going to happen.
Yeah. I'm the same way. The last thing I want is the Chiefs back in the Super Bowl. I don't even want them in the AFC Championship game. Like, just let's freshen it up a little bit, right?
What if Kelsey catches that winning touchdown though, and just gets down on one knee, and he's got a diamond ring tucked behind the, in the goalpost, and just holds it up towards that luxury box?
I will puke, and I'm on the record right now as saying I will puke. I'll make myself puke.
And your wife will be like, "Ah, Taylor Swift."
No, she'll be like, "Why are you puking?" And I'll be like, "Look at the TV."
Now see, that's relationship goals right there. When she cares more about you puking
like, "Why are you
than
puking?"
Taylor Swift,
yeah.
getting proposed to on live TV.
Or she'll be like, "I get it," and I'll be like, "I know." This is what I'm saying. Have you heard about Kim Jong-un? He banned hot dogs in North Korea. It's like an American culture thing. Like, he hates American culture, so he banned hot dogs, right?
Is this the cold open?
We're just redoing the whole joke.
Sorry. Did I now ruin the cold open?
I just gonna redo the whole bit.
Yeah.
And then edit it and put this in and be like, all right, we did it. It's funny now. It's not funny, is it? Still. All right.
The HIPAA Act.
HIPAA. Do you even know HIPAA? Is it not? Is that like not a thing? People are like HIPAA.
I mean, I'm aware of it.
You're aware of HIPAA, or you're aware of the thing?
I've never heard anybody be like, "Oh, HIPAA." HIPAA. I mean, it's kind of fun to say HIPAA.
This is ridiculous. All right. Thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah.
You got to come back on, and we'll look at how wrong we were.
Yeah, I'd rather not.
No, go.
No. Never look back. Never look back.
Yeah, we're moving forward. Oh, we'll have baseball coming up. We'll talk baseball.
Yeah. The Twins might be sold by opening day. So.
Oh, you think?
There was just an article saying that they're getting some strong responses, some strong bids in.
Any rumors on potential owners?
Mm-hmm. But it also, the thing that's kind of depressing as a Twins fan is just the fact, like, oh, well, Twins haven't made any moves yet.
Yeah.
So if the new ownership's not coming until opening day, it's like, well, this next season's probably going to be a
You see the stuff going on with the Padres right now? Mm-mm. We got our owner died before last season, right before last season. His widow is suing his brothers, who currently are in control of the team.
Yeah. Because
she said that she's supposed to be in control of the team. It's a whole thing. So, yeah, we haven't made any moves either because we got ownership of the team suing each other. Yeah. It's like.
Should we just record the episode now?
Yeah, I think we can. Yeah, you want to do the MLB preview?
Let's go right into it. Let's roll right into it.
We'll roll right in. All right. All right, thanks.